Welcome everybody to another episode of the Monitor Keeping Podcast. We've been away for a little bit, but been busy doing things. I'm here with Khai. Khai, how are you? We haven't even talked that much.
Yeah, man, we've just been really busy. just too busy with everything going on. You know, it's the holiday season, or it was the holiday season, or technically still is, kind of, for some of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's never ending when you got kids, and there's stuff that you got to attend to, things like that, and then the animals is basically full time. When we're not doing any of that other stuff, family stuff,
Right.
responsibility stuff. So it's kind of difficult to get in, and then recording sometimes that has to land perfectly too on our days that we're free. So really, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out until the next day's due.
Right.
But now that we've actually had a little bit of break, we're trying to get right back into it. Give you guys some quality episodes and stuff like that, and go from there.
Absolutely, man. It has been kind of busy. So that the listeners know, I went down to Pomona where I actually got to meet Khai and Lynn in person, and which was fun. But believe it or not, it was so busy we barely got to talk to each other at the show.
Yeah.
It was like
it's not your fault. It's kind of my fault. I'm kind of super hyper focused, so it's like, and we're really busy. And to be honest, I thought I was gonna have Dean there more, but he he had something to attend to, some school stuff or whatever. So he had to cut out early. But if I didn't have to man both sides and everything like that and cup, I'd be a little bit more free. But to have to do and play almost every single hat, and
right.
I mean, even Lynn too. Lynn's doing everything as well. So she's got she's got to watch the front and make sure that we're talking to all the customers and engaging with them, not just saying hi or whatever. Even though that's the bare minimum, but right, it's like there's a lot to do, man. There's a lot to do. So it's hard to be one person at the even two people. It's hard to be two people and talk to everybody. And when we're out of a certain size, we have to cup a bunch, and it's not easy cupping them. So
right,
they're just doing all the parts and making sure that everything is flowing good and everything like that.
I know, you were moving over there. Every time I looked over, you were either talking to somebody or you were on your knees praying in front of. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah,
in front of the grasshopper cage, picking out things.
Yeah, it's like now that I was, it's like the second busy show, because we've had a couple very minor shows before. Well, we cupped everything. We knew what we were gonna sell and what we had, right?
Right.
But these shows are so much bigger. I'm literally just cupping a bunch. I cup for quality too, so it's not like they've been sitting there forever, So it's like
right.
It's kind of like it's made to your order, right? Instead of something that's been sitting there for days or whatever. And so they get much more quality out of it rather than having something that's been old.
What were those?
I try to continue that and basically making sure that everything is solid. I did want to make sure my next go around how we're gonna do stuff is not just presentation wise, but even the setup and how things flow. I'm just trying to get a feel of it better, set up a little bit more better, have it where I'm not on my knees, like trying to count them and stuff like that. Yeah, but it's all right, man. Whatever works,
What were those big red, black, and yellow ones?
Oh, those are the Lubbers Grasshoppers. Those are the first that we've ever hatched and grew up.
Those were awesome.
Yeah, man, those are a good hot cake. People love those. And they're not for feeders; they're for pets.
Yeah, but so many people were walking by looking at those. I mean, they're just big, impressive bugs. And there was that one that was hanging from the ceiling as it was shedding off that exoskeleton, and it was like dripping out. Like it looked like something you see in a sci-fi movie. It stopped quite a few people just to look at it, myself included. It was so beautiful and gross at the same time.
Yeah, pretty elegant.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't realize that's like one of the coolest parts about them too. They basically are like a praying mantis, but a little bit more robust.
Yeah.
They still suspend from their shed, and it's pretty cool. Yeah.
And another big thank you to you and Lynn for hooking up the snacks. You guys saved our butts, and I'm still thinking about those macaroons. Those things, man.
Yeah,
oh my
man.
goodness.
Yeah, I just finished one. I just finished mine.
I had one in my shirt pocket, and I didn't remember it was there until I'm sitting at the airport with Alex, and I bust this thing out. And at that point we're just tired. The show's done. Those macaroons were so good. I was like, halvesies, I bit that thing in half and gave him the other half.
Yeah, man. It was a different show. How I would describe it compared to like either other Pomonas or the Anaheim show that we were just at a few months ago, right? Man, I think COVID had a little bit to do with the intake of customers or intake of people, right? Just people going into the show. It took them how much longer to get in, hour or two at least, I would say, to not just line up and wait in that long line, but then you have to go through the COVID testing and this and that, the verification, all that adds up. It may not be a whole lot for one person, but when you calculate thousands of people that need to come in, right, the predicted is more than several thousand even then, and so I think what that does is because we only have so much time, and let's say people are typically already all within the door by like 1 or 2 o'clock, but by the time it was that time, like 1 or 2, it was still kind of lax on the amount of like traffic that we're normally seeing at that time. So and you never know, people are kind of divided between the whole COVID thing and not COVID thing or whatever they believe, and so some people obviously didn't want to go at all, so maybe there's a fair amount of people that are also staying at home, and then there's the people that want to stay at home because they're scared of everything, so dang it, I don't know, when I think about it, it's like, okay, we're not together in this right now, but but I mean, I guess it's just kind of how it flows to make money, I don't know, but I felt like it gave me time, or it gave us time to talk to everybody instead of being rushed so much, right? So in a way, we're out there grinding and trying to communicate as much as we can, talk to people, make the sale, right, things like that. And this time it was a little bit more of a breeze rather than quickly talking, like wasting your breath almost, talking to this guy, the next person, you kind of saying the same thing, right? But you got to do it really fast because you want to be able to talk to everybody, and there's going to be so many people walking by your booth,
right.
So yeah, it's a tough one, man. I felt like it was a plus and minus that there weren't so many people there. We're still able to achieve the numbers that we did in Anaheim, so I'm not going to sweat it that much, right? Yeah.
It was fun. It was interesting. So for the listeners, it was my first time on the other side of a table. So it was a big learning experience for me in that.
Oh, that was your first time? I didn't realize that. I thought you've been on this side of the table a lot already.
No, I've sent animals before, but I've never.
No wonder you were so kind of like virgin type to it.
Did I have that written on my face?
Yeah.
What do I do?
Kind of don't know what to do.
Nope, didn't have a clue.
Yeah, man, it's you know, it's like to dissect it, like you know, how to make sales a little bit. It's all about like how you talk to customers, you know, how you
Yeah.
talk to people. Also, I think at the same time, there wasn't a ton of people that were there looking to spend.
Right.
Not that I saw. Um, there was a lot of the typical bread and butter, and don't get me wrong, that's perfectly fine too. But you just see a lot of that, and I think there's just an influx of new keepers, and
Yeah.
they don't buy monitors, man. They buy bearded dragons and geckos and
Ball
you know
pythons.
ball pythons and stuff like that. And
Yep.
they're not buying a stonewash bredli because they don't know what the fuck a stonewash bredli is.
But they'll
You
get
know?
there. They'll get, see
Yeah.
with new
So
keepers. I'm fairly certain a good amount of them will go on to keep other things and kind
yeah.
of, try to venture out into the reptile world. And so it was fun having a few conversations with people. Also, I got to meet some of the listeners, some of the people that I've met on Instagram or Facebook and whatnot, which was really cool. So, putting a face to somebody's handle or name and,
Yeah.
knowing what we talked about or,
It was great to really meet a lot of you guys, and
yeah,
I told myself prior to the show that I would at least try to like communicate with people, man, because in Anaheim, like I didn't do nothing really, you know, like in this show I didn't really do anything either, you know. I didn't like go and do anything with anybody else afterwards.
right.
It's because I really can't. I have to come back home, set up the grasshoppers. You know, by the time we're done with all that, I'm just like, all right, I'm caked. I'm back home. I'm not leaving. Um, but I told myself, I was like, all right, you know, you gotta like acknowledge people.
Right.
Yeah, like, hey, you're there. Let me say what's up to you. Like,
Oh yeah.
guys, like, dude, I think I've known on the internet for like years. I would
Right.
say upwards to several years, right? Maybe even a decade if we really go back really that far, you know. But meeting him, he's like meeting a wizard, you know, right? It's like
Uh,
the way he came too with his hat like that, and
yeah.
he came like coronavirus was right next to him, chasing him, you know, like.
But he came. He
But
came and got his cork tubes.
yeah, and I still have his core tubes sitting right here too.
Guy,
Like,
if you're listening, go get your cork tubes.
no, I have to drop it off to him. He paid me.
Oh, okay.
I gotta go. I gotta bring it to him. Like,
There were so many
within this
people
next
that
week.
came by, and because we set them at the end over there on the far side of the tables, and they were on top of the tables. There were so many people coming by, like, how much for this? I
I
was
could
like,
have resold it.
yeah. After about 15 people, I started thinking.
I told myself I had a bunch of leaves too, so I brought 2 packs of leaves,
Yeah.
and they sold within the first 20 minutes of.
Yeah.
I should have brought all of them because people were wanting that. They were getting charged $10, $12 for a little Ziploc bag,
I know
and
it,
you know
man.
that's like one setup when I gave them like 50 handfuls for $25.
That's so crazy too.
Yeah,
Yeah, leaves are a plentiful during certain times. So I was watching some of the stuff like, sometimes having some of that stuff on your table, hey,
it's what
that'll
people
go.
are looking for. You know, it's like, and at that volume, sure, everybody has leaves for $5 for a little bag, but geez, there's some leaves. You know, like
Right.
you got to understand. I mean, sure, it took somebody some effort, and maybe they got paid for that to bag all that stuff up. But
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, there's some leaves, you know.
So the kind of bag Kai's talking about, it was just like for
You can
for
fit
the
your leg in it. That's how
right.
big it is. Yeah.
It's like for like the back straps off of elk, okay, for one of those freezer saver bags that
Yeah.
Uh, so it was just full of leaves. It was a pretty good amount. In fact, when you first pulled them out, I was looking at them like, not that I don't have them all over. It's just that's nice and tidy.
Yeah. I should have brought more. I don't know. The show was great. The show was. I mean, all in all, like the show was great because we got to be, you know, ourselves, and
Right.
even if the show was shitty, I'd still have fun, you know.
Absolutely, it
But,
was fun hanging out.
right, because I think when it is really slow, you have fun, right?
Yeah.
Um, but when it's, obviously when it's busy, it should be busy. So
Right.
yeah, man, I don't know.
So, did you even get a chance to really even walk around and look at anything?
Oh man, briefly once.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're right next to the bathroom, so I didn't really get to like venture. I normally go to the restroom, take a peek for like a minute, and then run back. But nah, man, I saw a giant butterfly lizard. I
Yeah.
think the giant butterfly gamma.
Yeah.
The tail was really beat up on it, but the lizard was a massive though. That was cool. Shoot, the Dorianus that you picked up, that was
Yeah.
probably one of the nicest animals at the show, I would say. Um,
Nothing's doing great, by the way. I
I
was a
wanted
little
to
nervous.
I wanted to look for pancake tortoises and box turtles, but I didn't really see them. But
Hmm.
I wasn't really looking. I was just like, all right, if I'm gonna scan by, I'm gonna walk by the tables that have the most like odds and ends and underrated stuff, right? Like,
Right.
because that's what I like. That's what I like. I like underrated stuff.
Right.
Sure, the cool stuff, the popular stuff is fine, but for me, I'm looking for like sandfish or um, I don't know, false chameleons or I don't know, Johnson. I don't know, something really random, and people
Yeah.
don't really like them too much. Yeah, yeah. I'm looking to do like live bear stuff.
Yeah.
Just waiting for the. I might drop like on a Kimberly clutch. I might try to take that money and put it towards small Adjourna.
Gurney. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
the
with you on
very
that.
smallest ones though. I don't want the ones that get a foot long. I want the little ones that only get like this big,
Right.
so I can keep them in a 20-gallon. Because I don't have much space, but I'd like to do something different than egg layers because it's just something different, right?
Right.
Something challenging.
I
So,
think the same thing. I was talking to someone about that actually recently. That same family of skinks, just so I can maybe keep them at the house and watch the whole life cycle, see the parents,
yeah,
live
they're
birth.
very communal, right?
Yeah,
Very, very
and raise
communal.
their young, and yeah, it's just something different you get to see in the reptile world. So I'm with you
Yeah.
on that. I'll let you dip your toes into it. Get to breeding them, Kai. Let's.
I gotta commit to it first. I gotta.
Right.
I'm kind of what it is because I'm so focused on the Coli project right now. Is that if I get anything else, it takes away from some of my time that could be devoted to them, and
Right.
really, I'll feel bad because then I didn't, put my whole all into it. I started buying other stuff and got distracted. Really, when I know better, I know better.
There will be a day, I think, that the Coli project for you is going to be almost second nature. Maybe that's too ambitious to think that way, but I have a feeling you'll get
Yeah,
to the point where you know what to expect, what to look for, what you have to do, and what you don't have to do.
yeah,
And
man. Getting these new setups back up and how I want them, like, so. I guess talking, monitor wise, my cages right now, right?
mhm.
I think one, two, three. I'd say like five out of the dozen cages like function really well, like really well. The others, they're not hooked up all the way. Maybe they don't really need to be because they're for males, right? So I won't count those. The male setups are not bare, but they don't have a nest bin,
Yeah.
right? They have an area for them and everything like that. They can. What I really make sure the males have is a cool spot. So that is, um, that's how I have those guys. But now that I have the female setups, or not now, but I'm basically in the process. So I had movers come in today, help me lift some cages up off the ground, these 8-footers. Because what I thought I was helping myself do Which on the cool side for the male, great. And we're if you're picturing an 8 foot by it's an 8 foot by 3 by 3, and so half of it is more than half of it is for the male, and then a smaller section, I'd say like a third of the cage is just for the female, and that's where the nest bin is, or not even the nest bin. It's full on sand
Yeah.
and soil, and it's filled up to the very top, maybe good 15 inches of soil. So it's a lot of volume, and I had to really get that cage up off the ground because the cold side was
Too
it was
cold.
colder than the air and the other surface temperatures even on the floor. It
Yeah.
just yeah, it was like 59, 60 degrees, while the air temperature is easily 70 something, and the floor temperature around the area was 70 something degrees. So that cold soil it pulled from a lot more than I expected, right? And so it was a good thing that I caught it on today. It was also not that pleasant because how I found it was because there's ants in that enclosure now. It's like,
Eesh.
they decided to move in because my enclosures are so immaculate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But
That's why.
it's like they came and they're nesting. They're where I had this log buried for the female to nest. There's just a shit ton of ants there. So it's like the ants themselves require some heat too, because I used to do a little bit of anting myself. And so raising them requires a little bit of heat as well. And so they're kind of just honed in on that area that I have that's 84 or 83 degrees for the female to lay.
Hmm.
Um, and that's that one little tiny area that I had heating up this whole like 3 by 3 volume of soil, right? And so it was just so much for this little pad to do, which was I was talking about, where just my PVC sleeve with the heat pad inside, right? For this amount of volume, not it wasn't working that well.
Okay.
So it, I thought it'd work a lot better and it'd penetrate much further out, but it only really penetrated within the first 3 to 4 inches maximum.
Oh wow.
And so anything leaned up against it, if she were to lay right there, no problem. But she's got a. It's not that she'd have a hard time finding it or anything like that. It's just I would want more warm soil. So I had the cages lifted up off the floor in amongst all of this. So getting ants, figuring out how to get rid of them, not really getting rid of them, removing all the soil, then having to, as I dig down every part of the enclosure, even though Lynn's taking out the soil, I'm hitting it with the temperature gun so that way I know what's what, and I don't have to be like, oh, I think that was 70 degrees. I think that was 80 degrees. I know that fucker was 60 something degrees. Um, yeah,
uh,
yeah. So I apologize. I've been cursing a few times on this episode. It's because I've had a long day, man. A long day. It hasn't even stopped. I just promised to do this episode. I didn't want to lax on any more because we need to catch up on a couple. But
I hear
man,
you.
it's been so busy all day. Like we haven't stopped, and we've gone to we went to Long Beach, right?
Yeah.
And the piece what happened was got ants. Basically had the movers come right after I removed all the soil and all that stuff like that, so they can lift the cage up off the floor. I felt bad if I were to make them carry 400 more pounds of dirt. I should have made them do it though, because they ended up breaking one of my glass doors in another enclosure, right? And so that was added onto the task of things to do today, which I still haven't completed because we went to go there, and I basically I told the guy the wrong thickness,
Oh
and
boy.
it's a tad bit too thick where it fits but doesn't slide.
Oh man.
Yeah, so I
Well, now
gotta
you got to make another cage out of it. That's
gotta
all
make
that.
a, no, we're gonna freaking just set that aside. Maybe break it for fun, but no, because then I have to clean that up, so I'm not gonna break it. Yeah, no, yeah, man. So today's been a day. We got back here in all that traffic from Long Beach.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's kill it.
That's no joke.
Try to make it in time.
Yeah.
Got here, realized that whatever was going on today, I wasn't gonna win. So I'm just
Call it a day.
I'm letting that glass piece go. Yeah, I've been even trying to get a hold of another guy that was hoping to do it, and my normal cage guy, he's not responding, but it's dinner time. Maybe he's busy or something. So
How dare he?
yeah, man. Answer me now.
You're right.
Answer me now, or I'll give you a bad review.
Real quick for me, going back to the show, it was very interesting. So flying in, man, it was so windy that we had to circle around again. Okay, so basically we got blown off a little bit, and the pilot decided for safety reasons he was going to basically ascend again, circle around, and come back in. And it was real shaky coming in both times. Well, the guy that was in the row, I was sitting next to Alex, Alex from Sim Container for the listeners. And, we're like, cool, we get to sit on a coach flight together, whatever, get in there, Southwest. And it's really nothing. It's like you take off, you're in the air for like 15 minutes where they turn off the signs, and then you got to sit back down again because you're actually descending. You spend more time ascending and descending than actually stable in the air. And that's a 7-hour flight or 7-hour drive time to save going from Northern California to Southern California. So it still works out.
7 hours of back pain saved.
Right.
That's how we think about it.
Absolutely. And on that note, Khai, I got to talk to you after this. I got to send you some money for the vendor stuff and everything. I got to touch base with you. But so this guy, he's already starting to get sick on the first go around, and then we take off again, and he's throwing up just all over the place on this packed flight, right? And so the lady who's sitting next to him, she looks behind her towards us, towards Alex specifically. She's like, "Do you have another basically barf bag, right?" So he hands it to her, and nice deed doesn't go unpunished. Once we finally land, he looks down at the bag that was by his feet. There's throw up all over it. It was so nasty. He grabbed his stuff out of the bag. I took some of it, and we just left the bag on the plane. There was no saving it, So we get in that night. John picks us up. I hope he doesn't get too upset for busting him out like this. So John picks us up, and he's got this newer snazzy car that's all decked out with all these special fixins and everything. Problem is, he doesn't know how to unlock the doors. So now he's having to roll down the windows. We're having to reach in from the open window, like, the 1998 Honda Civic style. Unlock the doors that way, get in, and then we're driving to the show, and in Pomona they had been hit with these heavy winds too. So there's intersection lights out all over the place. There's like tumbleweeds and palm branches.
Yeah,
and
it was crazy.
Yeah, trees had fallen down, like even in the parking lot at the hotel. I think there was a tree that fell on some people's car. So it was just nuts, even just getting there. And the only thing we were worried about was food. So we weren't going to eat before the flight. So finally we land. We're like, okay, what's still open? Thank God for Southern California. Those little Mexican food taqueria places open 24 hours. They saved our lives. That's all I can say. That food tasted so good. So that was night number one. Then the show was good. Got to meet a lot of people, kind of, get my feet wet a little bit. And then at the show, you mentioned that giant butterfly agama. Secretly, I've been wanting some of those, but I want to get at least a group, if not a pair, an actual pair. But the giant ones, I just think they're awesome looking lizards. Few other things. They had some Baja rock lizards over there, the Baja Blues. Those were cool.
Those are cool, but man, they're so fast.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what? I always thought they would be super cool if on one side you had a cage that like kind of played to those highlights of the real bleach sand and the blues, and right next to it you had like a Pilbara rock monitor setup that played to the red because kind of you could keep them very similarly. Um,
Or basically them next to some chuckwallas.
yeah, that would be cool too. Go for that wild look.
I
Um,
always hurt for chuckwallas, and I can't catch them, man.
oh man, are you seeing them? You just can't catch them.
A little bit of both. I
Yeah,
can't see them. I can't see them, and whatever I do see, it's like swift gone. It's fast.
man, I gotta
Yeah.
take you some places. There's some good Chuckwalla herping, but yeah, you got to kind of sneak up on them before they run away. Um, for those field herpers out there that actually have made a lizard noose, they work pretty good
Oh
on
yeah,
Chuckwalla.
I've seen those in action.
Yeah.
Um, what do you call it? That Dorianus you got from the show. It's eating good. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So it's eating. It's still real flighty. Of course, I expect that to be that way for a while. My other two that were younger, I got them as babies. Um, they've started to chill out and tolerate me a little bit. Now I can actually slide open the cage without them bolting off. If I go to reach anywhere near them, they still bolt. If I have food, they're kind of waiting to see what I do. Um, so with this guy, I'm just worried about feeding them, get past that, what seems like that quintessential first week, which I'm already past now by a couple days. Make sure they're feeding, everything's good. They got water, they look good. I'm still, got a little PTSD from the other ones dying on me within that first week. So this one's doing great. It's really, really colorful. I mean, I don't know if it's a lack of color or if it's really colorful. I guess it depends on how you look at it. But what's interesting is, yeah. Hi, Bella.
Okay.
Welcome to the show. um, what's interesting is there's no blue on its tail. It's completely like that washed
Yeah.
out kind of ghost
The
color.
gray look.
Right. So I
The
found that
gray
super
look.
interesting. So I'm going to see how it develops, and maybe there's something else to it. I like the blue tails personally, but this thing just looks cool how it
You know,
is.
I've never seen any of these things. Okay, I've seen some of them, but I've never seen one like yours as an adult. I don't
Yeah,
even think
yeah,
I've seen too many like the one that passed. I don't think I've seen any like that as an adult. Don't get me wrong, like I've seen most of the sarongs types, right? The darker
right.
one.
You're
Those I've
right.
seen plenty as an adult, but I've never seen one like yours. It should be a very stellar animal, almost like I'd say black and white or something along those lines. It doesn't. I know it had like when animals acclimate and they get healthy, they develop more colors sometimes,
Right.
right? I'm pretty sure some yellows would pop in and peaches, right? But
It's yeah, it's kind of like this like ghostly green tint to it almost. The yellow
okay,
spots are still there. They're real
yeah,
faded though. But like this real slight green tint to that gray and no blue. Um so yeah, it's really an interesting animal, but I'm thinking the same thing. I looked for pictures. I see a few out of like Indo.
but not like that though.
Yeah, not quite like that, which, I was very happy to get. That's the honest truth.
Yeah,
Um,
man, it really replaces the one that RIP.
oh gosh, no, that was another one of a kind animal on the
Yeah,
orange side of things. That still breaks my heart.
yeah, orange
Uh,
with like more like flame, like actual red,
yeah,
and yeah,
I
that one was
hope
nuts.
I hope to come across one of those again.
Yeah.
Um,
Hey,
I'm just
the one that you're expecting to be males, man,
yeah
I would take the extra effort, make those nice.
yeah
Yeah, make them like friendly if you could, and or also like easygoing.
right.
I think that's the hard part with having any of the the Indicus breed. Man, if the male is he's too is he if he's too rough, and your timing is really off, and like it's just difficult because when you introduce them, they're really cantankerous, or they're like ornery and frantic back and forth, right?
Right.
Against you, but then also against each other, right? And so I think
Those
it's good to get one that won't respond so bad when the female goes after him.
right. Those two are so I have the older what I assume is a male. Um, but he's not huge. He's under 3 feet.
The
He's
second one that
right,
I sent to you, right? Okay,
right. He's about 30 inches, I would say. And
but
then
he's good, right? He's actually
yeah,
keep him good. Like that, we'll really need a function. Because regardless on whether it's Dorianus Pastel or the one that you just got, or I mean, even if it's the kind of like the more darker type, man,
right.
if it's a working animal, plug it.
You're right.
Because all we really need is a great male. The female, we can worry about getting her to be up to par. And females, it's not that they come dime a dozen or anything like that. It's not a hard find.
Right.
And then it's just having a super good stellar male. He's pretty,
Yeah.
so he'll definitely add to the colors. But even just getting a functional male that's nice, he's not really going to respond poorly to the females napping at him. Then it's
I
a
want
great.
to I want to go the kind of the what we would say is those pastels. I want to go that route in this, but I also want to go for the real colorful orange and yellows.
Yeah,
So I don't know if I don't know. This
I think you
project
have
might,
so many that you can plug and play.
yeah.
You should have 5 animals now, right?
I
6,
have one, two, four, four.
4.
So I had two in the Indo shipment
Oh,
that
right. So 3
that
that went, right?
right. They both died pretty quick after. I thought they were doing great, but maybe it's just my inexperience with
Yeah,
failing
indicate
Doranus.
stuff is tough. I've had some where they're great. Yeah, or I mean, like the one that I was nursing here. Remember? So that
Yeah,
one was here. Not that it like I keep them crummy or anything like that, but that one was here was in like a basic setup, little
right.
half log, some dirt, a water dish, and stuff to climb on the walls. Right? Nothing crazy. It's just some plastic stuff. So it's like a very big. For me, it's my signature, but it's a basic setup, right?
Right.
So that thing was here for months, right? I was fixing its nose, its
Oh man, you
palm.
did so well with
Yeah,
that thing.
yeah,
That
man, it's crazy.
that really hurts my heart to. And the thing for the listeners out there, that animal is actually in my freezer because I will figure out. I have to figure out. I got to open it up, and it just kills me because every time I open that freezer to get something out, it's right there in plain sight, and it's this might be morbid. It's just as beautiful frozen as it is
Yeah,
in
yeah,
life. I mean, it was just an amazing animal, and I really want to know what the heck was going on because it still boggles my mind because there wasn't even sunken in eyes on this animal. By the time I put it in the freezer, like its eyes, every time I open it, it still looks like it's looking at me. They still look fresh. There was no like dehydration going on. There wasn't any like rapid body weight loss. So that
yeah. It's
one
really weird.
is just one that stumps me.
Super, yeah, super weird. I've had a peach throat croak on me. I've had a couple baby mangroves that I've purchased. I've even had some that I hatched out, and all of a sudden, right after the first couple hours, just die. So
Yeah.
I've had it happen to me more than once. You know, but yeah, man, they're tricky, dude. I don't know what it is. The non. I call it blistering, but they don't like that blistering heat.
No.
They don't like it at all. So that could do it if that sends them into shock. Um, yeah, I don't
I
know.
think it might. I think
Stress.
you might be right about that. I can't say that I don't know. There's still too much to figure out. But I know this is what I know. The ones that I have now, all doing well. It made me do a real quick review of what's going on. The odd thing is a lot of it is just I didn't change much. It's just more attentive to like, okay, making sure it's fresh water all the time. Simple things. I don't go 3 days in a water bowl. It gets changed out. Uh,
Man,
always.
picture that new female that you got with
Oh,
a very, very nice male that you have. That would
yes.
be a pretty combo.
See, that's what's killing. And so I think one of my so back to what's still living, what I can work with, the male that I have. I mean, he's and you would know better on Indicus complex stuff. It seems like he's just taking off in growth compared to the other one that I got together. They were both the same size babies. Now the growth isn't bad in the other one. That's kind of presenting as female right now.
Yeah,
Um,
it's gonna be typical. She's the build on. Well, I mean, I can't how to say it exactly for Dorianis because I've seen some big girls too, but the typical build is they're just daintier along the way.
yeah,
They'll catch up. It's like their first year to 2 years even is. It's not that it's a hit or miss. It's just light surfing. They're barely just eating a fair amount, just enough, right?
right.
But then, like when they're, I'd say maybe 20 inches, 24 inches, man, they'll start demanding a lot more food.
Yeah,
That's what I remember about Dorianis because when I got that rescue, it had like a messed up leg and a messed up nose front, right, and a busted tail. Um, I got it when maybe it was like maybe 18 inches, something like that. 15 to 18 inches, something like in pictures it looked a lot bigger, but it fit like on my forearm, so it
yeah.
wasn't too big. And then I got it out of the bin setup that it was in, man, and set it up in like a little 4x2x2
Uh-huh.
and just like fed it, right, and it just grew and outgrew that, and I put it in another cage like it was like a 4x5, and eventually turned into like some 3-4 foot beast, man. And it just, yeah, crazy. And it ended up being a girl.
Yeah,
Yeah, so they're nuts once they get to that 2 to 3 foot range, man.
just take off.
They're a definitely different beast. And I really wonder how yours are gonna be when it's time, when it's
Right.
like that 2-year-old mark at least.
That's what I'm kind of prepping for with my future plans and everything too is okay, they're going to need cages. I'm going to need to be able to separate animals on just, on a whim if I need to. So basically, cages for both, or a cage for every animal. And with the
Yeah,
idea that I can put those animals together in one of these cages, it has to be big enough to cohabitate two animals while I'm trying to see if they're compatible, and then have something on the fly that's ready and available just in case things go south with them. So that's what I'm gearing up towards. That's why, other than maybe adding in a few choice animals to the Dorianus project, there's probably not too much going to be going on. I actually um,
I
sold.
would only add another female, and then if the male is like on, you can't turn them down.
Right.
He's either really good or
Well,
really
that's
gorgeous.
That's my problem. See, I thought, okay, I might pick up one or two more animals, and then I went to the show, and this animal of all things pops up. It's like, well,
Yeah,
I must is needs that. So
yeah. I was just surprised that was even there.
yeah, that was
Yeah,
if you guys want
there's
to know,
been a lot of rare stuff coming in lately.
yeah, there's been some interesting stuff for sure. Oh, at the show there was what's referred to as a door indicus. My first time seeing those, and it was
Yeah,
I mean I've read about them, seeing them in person. Interesting, you
it's just
know.
a mangrove monitor that's got a bigger build for sure. They get a lot
Right.
bigger, right? And then they're also equipped with a blue tongue, and their snout is a little bit bigger, so that makes them look like males all the time.
Yeah.
But so all right. They also, when they're pattern fragments, right, and
Hmm.
they're at that like where the yellow is circled by the last of the black, right, as it separates.
Right.
That part also during that time makes them really look like a Dorianus, because the Dorianus spots during that time, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah.
I saw some of that. That's what I was. It was like a mixture of the Dorianus
The two,
pattern
yeah,
with the disrupted kind of mangrove pattern
yeah,
on it. It was a trip.
yeah, yeah. So I have um little Ermius. His mom is a Dorianicus that I got from John and Alex back then.
Okay.
That bought was a I thought was a male to go in. They even thought it was a male, but turned out this female ended up laying eggs like a year or two later. So definitely wasn't a girl. I mean, what wasn't a boy. Um, and so she laid a Partho clutch. I hatched that one egg out, and then bred her to big Ermius now, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so big Ermius and this big Dorinicus girl bred, and that's how I have little Ermius now.
Okay.
So yeah, little Ermius is now the 50 percenter that's breeding with a lot of the pure Kylands that I'm hoping to make a 75 percenters.
Gotcha.
Um, yeah, so uh, basically how pretty you see little Ermius is too,
Yeah.
man, it's like amplification from both the Kai Island side and the Dora Indicus side. It's pretty nuts. He's really yellow.
Well, I could just imagine, through you're kind of still at the beginning in a lot of ways of this project and what's known about these animals. But can you imagine what, let's say 30 years, just like we've been able to do with some of the Australian stuff, not us personally, but the Australian stuff in the US, imagine what you could potentially line breed or
Yes,
selectively breed for.
it's kind of what I'm working now. It's if I can do any of the peers, I have peer mangrove monitor stuff. But with little Ermius, I'm looking just to make something that's like the mutt, Kai Island mutt. You know,
Right.
it kind of gets. I'd say I don't think they're gonna be easily bred like that though. I mean,
Right.
I hope people get to that point, but I don't. I just don't think it's gonna work out like that. So, um, unless someone they were really doing it and they became simpler to breed because Indicus are also not that simple to breed. So,
Right.
um, but they can make the 75 percenter thing, and it'd be like Flavies, right? It's where
Yeah.
how pure do we know it is? So in a way, it's so bad for the people that don't like the intergrades and hybridizations, whatever. But these are my animals. I don't care.
I will
Yeah,
say this on that topic. It's funny because I'm of two minds. In the snake world, in the python world specifically, with the stuff I keep, I want pure animals, and I have no intention of hybridizing my animals.
right.
Getting.
And they mean more down the line, right? Like for instance, the boa situation right now.
Yeah.
Basically, any of the mutt boas aren't really too much of a high dollar anymore, or they've come down very fast in
Right.
market value, right? While like pure Surinams or something like that is destined to cost a lot more, just
Right.
because that's the pure look. It's for one harder to find pure, all that stuff like that, right?
Absolutely. And that's true in that world. And for the most part, with the monitor world, I'm the same way. I'm not going to
Yeah,
take a Kimberly and a Tristis and
right.
purposely put them together and try to make something. But I will say this, being my own hypocrite, I guess, the sand monitor crosses are still my favorite. animals.
Yeah.
From the time I saw my first one, I know some people are upset they were crossed. Now, be upset if you want to be, but there was also at that time pure animals. It's just we, as a hobby, I wasn't there at the time. We failed to maintain the pure lines. I think there's a
Yeah.
place for
There was.
both. Maintain the pure, work with what you can so that it doesn't disappear. Let this be a lesson to us. But at the same time, I always love the crosses from seeing that first one, keeping some crosses now. They were capable of the robustness of the Gouldai, the Argus monitors. They took they're still smaller in every way from like an Argus monitor, but they took out some of the colors, like some of the backs on these things that were made back in the day were almost completely neon green with like maybe little flecks of yellow or flecks of like rust colored red. I mean, and so the underside is tan on this, or like a normal sand monitor would be, but you got these amazing reds that would come out sometimes, and it just blew my mind what they were capable of. So I got a special place in my heart for those. So with that being said, I think you could also line breed for select colors. And to anybody out there that you can maybe be upset with Khai, I don't even know if anybody is. You can maybe be upset with Khai if you think that, hey, why are you mixing stuff? Only aim for the pure stuff. He's getting it done. He's on the scoreboard. And I would ask you, what are you doing? What are you doing to further the project? How are you helping? Get on board, because the same thing could happen if Khai is the only one working with. I'm speaking to you or speaking to the audience like you're not here. If you, Khai, are the only one working with these animals, and they disappear, you can't get it done. Then guess what, guys? They might be lost to us. If Indo shuts down, we won't get these in. This has happened already with we're seeing it with Timor monitors, Peacock monitors. What else have we
The
lost?
skyrocket price and all the tree monitors, stuff like that.
So
it's just harder and harder to find too, and harder to get some of these stuff that we take for granted right now just because they get imported.
Right.
Yeah. So
in a perfect world, pure everything we have availability to. But
I'm working on it. So don't get me wrong. I don't want to just have, I'd say, mutts out there. Although they are a very pretty mix.
Yeah.
It's not a downgrade at all. It's almost an upgrade. Yeah, man, it's
see that's a tough thing.
It's a tricky thing. I guess I'm utilizing now the captive bred ones as training, as what I'm learning from. Going back into the conversation about a little bit about the Dorianas that you have, right? Man, raising my young Khai Islands and the ones that I bred and stuff like that, they were great, and then they weren't great, and they're fine. So they were great as babies. They're great when they're small, right? They're not too mean to each other at all. They might huff and puff a little bit, nip at each other when feeding, but not too bad, right? And then they reach like puberty and sexual maturity, and then it's not so much of breeding, it's asserting themselves.
Right. The dominance, pecking order.
The pecking order, realizing what they're capable of, how they should handle situations, right? So I had little Ermias. He was actually a real dick when he first hit like his year, right? And mangroves can't be produced in their first year. I've tried to with several animals, but they actually wait a while. So his first year, I thought he'd be ready or something like that, right? And I put him with a few different girls. He basically tried to maul them all. He tried to bite them in their arm. Actually tore some of them up a little bit where they had to heal. Things like that. Basically being a bad male, something where he's just too aggressive, he's too bitey, rather than a little bit of nipping is okay, a little bit on the shoulder, stuff like that, or a nip on the tail here and there, but not where it's a lot of blood. And so yeah, just I had to teach him, and at the same time he had to learn by just experience, you know. So I'm not doing a whole lot of teaching other than hooking them in with the
Right.
female, right? Whether they were ready to go or not, I read the behavior from just, you know, them approaching each other. They had to be introduced while they're also mean too, not just when they're nice. Because the way another one responds, and maybe the first once or twice is not so great, but the later on, and you're more repetitive with stuff, they get more used to the routine, they get used to the other animal.
Mm-hmm.
It helps out a little bit. So reading the Dorianus in the future project, you may run into the same thing that I ran into with my younger stuff. None at a year, or that size that you would think most of the, and what they say for a lot of monitors that they're, you know, ready to go in a year. These guys aren't ready to go in a year.
You know,
They kind of wait a little bit.
I would almost say that I've seen that definitely in the
I've
dwarf
seen it in a lot of Aussie stuff for sure.
Yeah, Australian dwarf monitors. I believe that 100%. I wonder if that has to do with the harsher seasons when they have availability of things. There's the necessity to grow fast, reproduce,
Shoot,
and
I think it's more plentiful where these other island endemic monitors might be, but I don't know.
true.
I I, I couldn't really tell you because we're not out there.
But yeah,
But
that's I don't know. I think there's something to be made. I have to spend some more time thinking on it as to
no, don't get me wrong, because water monitors, if you can grow a female, I think her first 12 months, 15 months, she can go. You know,
yeah.
that's a 4 foot water monitor female. I've seen just about there.
Yeah, you know what? You're right.
Yeah,
So
but I've tried to do it with these indicus. I ended up just making them fatter. Yeah, and it carries on. You know, some people say you can't overfeed babies. I feel like you carry on the behavior of needing to eat so much into their juvenile and subadult and adult stage that their stomachs are so big that they just need to fill up. You know,
yeah.
when you're feeding so lean and little, and you're spacing it out more or more frequent smaller meals, it just works out a little bit better.
Man, there's so much to cover. Just what we're just like diets. I've had so many new thoughts on diets. But to that, what you were just saying, basically, when I'm hitting like 2 months with some of the smaller dwarf stuff, I've actually cut back on food quite a bit.
Yeah,
Just because of that reason, it's like I just don't want feeders all the time. You know, just eat.
yeah,
Maybe some people would argue with that. And it's not like they're starving, but teaching them, you know, okay, you're going to grow at this pace.
yeah.
You're not just going to be a flying stomach coming out of the cage.
Right. Not only that, when you got 30 of them, it's a lot.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
I,
so most people, you know, I don't want to be like the one that just sets the tone on how everybody should do stuff, but I don't feed my babies a lot. I feed just like I feed my adults, really, and
yeah.
it's only okay. Some of my adults I feed 3 to 4 times a week, give or take. Right, it really just depends. And the babies now, I used to do something where, oh man, I gotta, you know, make sure they're eating the next day, make sure they're eating the next day, gorge them. I get them past their first couple weeks, make sure that they're eating. There's regularly amounts of food, and they're basically doing what I need them to do, which is eat. Just
Yeah.
I need to see you eat, so you know what you're doing. You know, and then I leave them alone, and then I just put in food in every other day or every 2 days. Sometimes these baby mangroves only eat 2 to 3 times a week, and that's it.
Right.
I don't stuff them a lot. I don't try to like force them to eat more. I know they'll want to eat a ton, but I honestly don't want to make them grow so fast.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
with you on
balance.
that. I feel like it is a balance. Gosh, I guess this year, you know, not stretching it out too long, but this year and in the next few episodes, I do want to talk just different things we might have done, things we were talking about last year. I did cool some animals, so now I'm starting to bring them back up. And as soon as I kind of started we had a couple days here where the highs are kind of like mid 60s now. So the nights are still cold. We have some nights that I think there was one night that got below 30 for us in California. That's cold. To someone over there listening somewheresville, they're like, that's not cool.
They're freezing right now.
Right. That's a light sport coat to dinner type of weather. But for California, that's cold. And as soon as those days started hitting 65 and the ambient in the warehouse would heat up, I started seeing some different action just off of a few meals. So I started seeing females start swelling up after a couple like light meals. And so now when I start to see those signs, now I'm pounding in the food, having them pound the food, offering it up because I know what's going to happen. But we did talk about that a little bit. So I use that in kind of forced into it a little bit with the Kimberleys a little bit early in the fall time. I had to cool them out of necessity for some various reasons. And now with the rest of the collection, the Ackies, the Tristis, and the Sand Monitors, as well as the Savannah Monitors, they all got a slight cooling period with real light food, if any. And now they're bringing them back up. The Dwarf Monitors are taking off already. I'm hoping the Savannahs will, and I'm starting to see the signs I'm looking for in the Sand Monitors as well. So
yeah, my Dwarf Monitors they're already 2 clutches in.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So that's something I got 2 clutches from the Kims, and they're already ballooning back up. So
yeah.
What I'm doing with them is just those Lobster Roaches.
Nice, man.
They love those things. Then they stay on the surface, not like the dubia, like the burrow. So dubia, they are in cups, and sometimes they just stop moving.
You know what I used to do when I had those, right? Because I'm very anti-roach, right? It's not that I don't want to ever use them. It's just they get out sometimes, or they burrow, or whatever, right? Or there's the frass that I'm allergic to as well.
Yeah.
Not all the species, just some of them are really bad. Like orange heads, I'm not so bad with, but dubias, I'll die. But I used to do lobsters and lateralis, right? The fast wall climbers.
Yeah.
Just, right. A trick that you can use if you already have a dish that's flat, or however you use it. I end up with the whatever in a bag, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I take my tongs and I put the bag in between the tongs, and then I pinch it a couple times, and then it kind of immobilizes them from climbing, but but they're still alive, moving on the floor.
Gotcha.
I would never release those in my freaking enclosure.
Doing the Terminator crawl for a hungry lizard. just total despair in Khai's cages.
I don't care. You're dying.
That's like hunting at one of those resorts. No fair chase, no sport to it.
Yeah. But hey, man, it helps for you not getting these roaches all over your thing, though.
True.
Especially if they're escapees.
So what I did was the cages that I made, they're pretty much sealed off. So and the Kims are so fast, I'm actually kind of tongue feeding the roaches, so I know exactly how many they're getting, and they're dead before they ever get away.
That's good.
Yeah, with the exception of if I throw in at like recently one of the gravid females and she refuses, that one might spend a night or two afraid and alone somewhere in the cage. But the interesting part about the cages is that paint I used, that rubberized paint, the Kims can actually crawl right up the paint the way it's textured. So if a roach is running up the wall, they have no problem going right after it. So that's kind of fun to see. And then I've started throwing them to the black trees. I haven't really seen them go after them yet. They're still kind of focused on me. But the green trees are going after them. They seem to like them a lot. And sometimes when you pinch them, like you said, just from they kind of do this like it's kind of like a hiss and a chatter at the same time noise, and that seems to get their attention a little bit too. So it's been interesting trying different food items on different animals, seeing what works and what doesn't work. But that being said, back to the monitors. So I'm hoping to see some good action here. I put all the tree monitors have nesting options, so I'm still filling those out. But at the very least, if they want to go, they have every opportunity to go. All the things that they need to go. And trying to think what else is going on. Just got still some baby Ackies, the baby sand monitors.
Yeah, I'm due for a 1 coli egg to hatch any day now. It's probably like day 150.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's up there.
That's a pure one, right? Or is that the?
It's a pure one.
That's awesome.
They were. It was dug up in October, but the egg had been there for some time. I wouldn't say more than a month because of how of the development was of what was inside.
Yeah.
Right? So from what was inside, it probably wasn't even there for more than a few weeks. So I'd say, I don't know, like I'd say 2 to 3 weeks, give or take, something like that. So I went back all the way until September, counting from even mid-September until now. It's roughly around 150 days.
Ooh, getting close. You're in that kind of that final stretch. Any day could bring you a surprise.
Any day. And then I have another Kimberly egg that I just put into the dry period as it's about to hatch. I take my Kimberly clutch as they're on their last leg of incubating, and I put them on dry medium, and it sucks out the extra moisture.
Interesting.
And they hatch.
Very interesting. We should talk some more about that, especially you're going to have some Kimberly clutch.
I mean, I don't know if this is going to work for everybody. It's just what is working for me. So
right.
It's some people hatch Kimberleys over water and have no issues.
Right.
I tried it and I ended up drowning every baby. So, it's something. It's something that has to do with something, and I don't know what it is exactly yet.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, there's basically results across the board for Kimberly's, I think, being hatched with that turfus stuff.
That's what I'm using a lot of.
The sim container on typical.
Yeah.
The grid, I've used it on with perlite and vermiculite, and my best way so far is the one where I showed you that measurement of that, where I basically measured it out like 35 grams of water, 35 grams of this, and I added it all together, and I added a little bit more of dry perlite on top, just so none of the moisture touches the egg at all. They're not even, and then they're still sitting on a grid. It's a totally different thing than a sim container. It's the same technique. It's a suspended egg. It's just not a sim container.
Shh! Don't say that out loud.
Man, I gotta tell the truth.
No,
I haven't had the best of luck with tiny eggs in the sim container. I haven't had the best of luck.
See that?
I have hatched them out in a sim container a couple times.
Yeah.
But I've had more luck during the time where I was really effing up and I felt like, man, I'm not really hatching them out. I tried all techniques, every which way. I had maybe 3 or 4 different containers with different mediums, different air hole sizes, placement, water saturation at the bottom. Everything has been a little bit different from the someone else's standard, right?
Yeah.
Or I took it and I applied it, and so that way I can utilize it in a way where it's going to benefit me. And so, currently, like at one point, I was using the turfus, hatched a clutch out on the turfus. Didn't like it so much because an egg snapped in half. And then, I went to the other sim. It's not a sim container, but it's a suspended incubation method, right? And so I went with that. Someone bought me that to use because they too were also not having the greatest luck with the sim container. Um, I don't know, their dragons weren't hatching out in the sim container too well. So they went with that other container, and I was like, all right, I'm going to try it. And it was some gift that this lady sent me two of. I didn't even
Okay.
buy it. So yeah, it's just like, all right, here, try these. Um, and yeah, so I've used quite a few things across the board. Now I use vermiculite mixed with perlite and water, and I do a sort of a half and half ratio, um, or 1:1. Sorry, 1:1 ratio. Sorry if someone people I said that really wrong, but it's,
One
um,
part to one part.
one part to one part. Yeah.
uh,
And yeah, man, that's what I'm currently using. It's a tough one because I honestly don't want to be killing eggs, and I don't want to try too many new things anymore because
right.
I feel like I'm past that part right now, so I can just take it easy and just stick with what I have going on. Um, but
See, when
yeah,
I
man.
kill eggs, it's always I can always pinpoint to what it was. It's usually I've had a few incubation spikes for different reasons. Um, but for me, like the Kimberly eggs, they're super tiny. But so far, I haven't had any issues between the clutch of Kim eggs. The ones I have now are in sim containers, and then the Tristis eggs all do fine in the sim containers. Almost with 100% hatch rate on the good eggs. Um, and so they've worked for me for between that, and I don't know if it's just because now, so sometimes I put them in a sim container and I put the eggs in there, and sometimes I'll notice right off the bat, even though it's already a preheated container with the medium in there, I don't really measure the water too much, to be honest. I pour to a certain amount till it looks what
Soup.
I yeah, to what I a little lighter than soup, not as soupy as that.
So
I'd say
porridge.
gravy. Yeah. um,
Porridge.
poi for my Hawaiian folks. Um, so about that consistency, like, so it's wet, but not like loose running water.
Yeah.
And then I'll put eggs in there, and if I notice them start to dent, usually within the first week, just a little bit, something that Kevin Baker turned me on to is just put a moist paper towel, and I do two pieces of the paper towel, and just lightly sprayed, lay it on top. That egg fills right back up, and I haven't had any issues. And then even when eggs, I think I showed you a picture that I had that one clutch of Aki eggs where the eggs swelled up. So they were circles. They were little ping pong balls. They didn't have an egg shape to them at all, but everything hatched fine. Um, so I can't say that's the same with some of the other monitor eggs, but I'm beginning to believe Aki eggs are just, if they're good, they're good. You really gotta um, do something bad to them for them not. I mean, I've had Aki eggs spike to over 100 degrees for a short period of time and hatch. I've had them,
We had them pop in half.
yeah, pop in half and still hatch out. Just crazy stuff. They're so just robust. I mean, they're impressive animals, not only as the actual animal, but just as embryos.
But a Kimberly, on the other hand, drop
Uh,
some water on it and it's gone. Look at it the wrong way.
right?
It's gone.
Pinkies out, walk
Breathe
on your tiptoes.
breathe cold breathe cold air. It's gone.
Now,
No, just kidding. They're
that
not that bad.
well, that being said, and you would know this, you've kept other stuff too. Kimberly's, they hit that. I won't even say they hit a certain age. They are just very intelligent and personable monitors. You can kind of interact with them. So now when I approach the cage with the bin of roaches, they run up to the front and they tilt their head to try to look down at what I'm doing. Then I can open the cage. They're right on the lip. If they wanted to make a break for it, I would basically not be able to stop all four of them at once. And they just sit there like little puppy dogs waiting for their roaches to come. I can mess with them. Their tongue flicks. They know my fingers aren't roaches, and they're waiting to see that roach come out. And you can run them up your arms and back into the cage and everything. And they're just if I'm messing around in the cage, if I have to reach in and move one, it's not this like dart off runaway thing that I see in so many of the other monitors. It's um, they're just cool. So some of the intrigue, if people are wondering what's so cool about Kim's, that's what's so cool. Ackies are more tanky. They're just like there's a wall, I'm gonna run into it type of dwarf monitor, and they're great. They're great. They're robust. That's why they're great for learning with. They come in great colors, and they can be super sweet too. Don't get me wrong. I have a couple of them that are just absolutely great animals, but I don't know. You kind of see it with the Kims a little bit, and then Tristis are their own other thing. I got some cool ones, and I got some just absolute crazy ones. You better be watching where they go because they will even in a 4-foot cage with windows where you think you can see everything. All of a sudden, you hear something running on the floor behind you, and you're, where did that go? So, all right, man. This is just but one other thing. At the show that I saw, there was this basilisk. I don't know if you saw it. It was blue and black. It looked like a Blue Tree Monitor's colors. There was no green on it whatsoever.
Why didn't you buy it?
I almost did, but I don't keep basilisks. I know nothing about them, and so now I'm
anything with feet like that. You gotta require a lot of running room, man.
Right. So here I am in the hotel room. It's like 11:30 at night. I should be sleeping for the next day, and I'm looking up basilisks. Why I don't need one. All the reasons why, and still trying to convince myself, oh man, I could take that home. But I mean, it was just so striking to see another animal. The only animal I've seen in those colors is a Blue Tree Monitor. And so when I look over, I think it was like Sunfire Dragons had it. And it was just this blue and black animal, and it was just impressive. That was pretty cool to see. And other than that, there's a few other. Oh, there was a guy with 2 other baby blue tails, and there was one I really liked. And I told him, hey, maybe we can work something out. So I kept going back when I could on breaks to talk to the right person over there first off. And we were talking about something. I said, okay, let me run back to the table. And it was like an hour or two after that, I go back there, and he's like, someone took it. Someone stole one of the blue tails off of his table. They ran right up front, and
I think the way they were placed, it's just if they turned around, someone can steal it.
Oh yeah, so they had a massive area in the corner.
Whole section.
Yeah, there must have been 10 tables, the way they set them up over there. And when you got stuff on every side, you got 4 people. I think it had 4 people, but at any given time, it's 2 or 3 people. Yeah, but we were trying to put the word out there as fast as we could. One, because I still wanted that animal. So and maybe I'll pick up another blue tailors too. But that was cool to see a few of them there.
I think the next round that you do, no more little ones. You'll have to be little ones. Basically, puts you at more odds of having something that you don't want. You'll have the ones that you grow out, right? The ones that you grow out will already be within decent numbers and of sex ratios. It looks like what 2.2 so far, right?
Yeah, actually, it looks like 2.2. The problem is this gets expensive. When I see that gorgeous adult animal of known sex, it's like, oh, you want this, huh? Oh, well, yeah, let's talk.
Dude, pay for it because it's worth it, especially if it's tame. Like if it's great, right? They show you it's great, then the animal's really worth it. If it's not, oh man, it kind of jeopardizes some stuff, I guess.
True. So if anybody's listening and you have one of those Dorianus that is just a one-of-a-kind animal, and you want some Kimberleys in the future, let's talk. I'll set those aside for the Dorianus project. They're going to fund it in one way or another.
I'm not sure if what's his name? Is it Great Valley Serpentarium?
Joey.
Yeah, I think he had some for sale, but I don't remember what they were.
He
I think they
had
were just
he had
typical.
blue tree monitors for sale.
No. He messaged me with the Indicus list,
Oh,
and
really?
it was like it was like a Dorianus pair, a Melanus, and a Peach Throat or something like that.
Oh, okay, okay,
Mhm.
okay. I
Yeah,
thought you
yeah.
meant at
Then
the show.
right, but yeah, it's got to be like someone like really, obviously it's like they love the animal,
Right,
but it's like either they don't want it anymore, or they can't take care of it anymore, or something like that, and
right.
yeah, it ends up in your lap or whatever. Dude, I've had several big mangroves just end up in my lap, man.
Yeah,
No charge other than me going out there to really get it,
yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's maybe Dorianus might not be so. I don't know whether they're just pawning it off, but you never know, man. Someone's gonna see that you're gonna put it to good use and all that
True,
stuff like that. Yeah.
true. Other than that, I know we're gonna keep this one under the 2 hour mark we usually go for, but um, it was fun meeting some of the other vendors that were there too. Joey was one of them. Really cool. If you guys don't know, GB Serpentarium or Great Basin Serpentarium, he breeds all kinds of stuff, but he breeds monitors and he breeds uh, the Morelia breadlie, basically the Centralian carpet python, and I'm a huge fan. So I'm a fan of his off the bat.
I think he hatched out. Was it Offenburg or
Yep.
Timorensis?
Well, it's Offenburg, but if you talk to Joey, and you know what, maybe we should have him on. He has his own feelings on what's what. So I'd love to maybe if you'd want to come on, get him on and maybe have that conversation. And another good person that got to meet in person, Ryan McVeigh at the show. It was fun. We weren't too far from him. Um, Shane from Evergreen was right across the way from us, and it was fun talking to him because we've had some dealings back and forth, sending animals. And so it was really good meeting him. I know everybody's busy, everybody's there to vend. You can only do so much, talk so much, hang out so much. But it was really good meeting him for sure. He's working with, he has a sand monitor, he has some Tristis, some Kims, and some Ackies. So, and he does a ton of snakes too. So it was fun to get the inner looking into like what people are working with and who they are and those type of things. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. I felt I felt like I was able to socialize a little bit more this time.
yeah.
Um, dang, I forget his name. Jason. Did you see Jason? I forget his name. He does the white throats. Um,
Oh, I don't think I did.
yeah,
I know
so
who
I
you're
saw.
talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he came. He's local to me, but he
Okay.
came. He came to the show. The young kid that's doing the Doomerals right now, Aiden.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Um, Aiden was there. Well, it was nice to meet Aiden.
there was a
Yeah,
guy
man,
who came to your table. I don't know if you got a chance to talk to him. I saw Dean talking to him. He does that entrepreneur podcast. I believe that was
oh
him.
yeah, Bill Strand or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him briefly. I gave him some grasshoppers on top of whatever he ordered. Um, and yeah, I didn't really get a chance. I think he was just leaving as I was bagging and stuff like that. And Lynn helped him out. I didn't really realize it until it was like him, right? And then I was like, oh, sort of starstruck, sort of busy, can't really say anything. So I just like, all right, here's a
Yeah.
here's a free cup. I really got to get back to this real quick, or else we're gonna be swamped and no one's gonna have anything to sell. So
Well, it's hard because everybody's masked up because of the requirements for the show. So if you came by and said hi to me or Khai and we didn't recognize you, it's not like we weren't trying. It's just
yeah,
we were masked up, you were masked up. It was loud in there, and sometimes you can't hear people too well, or they can't hear you talking through the mask, leaning over a table. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. There was the auction. Honestly, we for after the show, we dipped out on the auction. poked our
Yeah,
heads in
I
real
don't
quick.
attend those things.
Yeah. And went to dinner right there in the hotel, and that was actually really good. We all got burgers, and they were delicious. And met a guy, Mason. So he gave me like a rundown on social media and algorithms and all kinds of things. And it was actually fascinating to listen to because I don't know that stuff. I didn't even know that was a world of things. Um, and to see him break it down, listen to him break it down was just absolutely fascinating, like a little mini education. The only problem was I was sitting across from him at dinner, and I kept stepping on his shoes. I felt bad afterwards, but it's like I had that when you have that table that has that metal pole in the middle, so you got to kind of put
Yeah.
your feet around it. So he's sitting on the other side of that. I wear a size 12. I think he had bigger feet than I did, and so we're just playing footsie all night as he's talking. So, but it was fun. It was a good conversation. Hanging out was fun. Flying back, I was able to get on the earlier flight back with Alex. It was at one point I'm talking to you because you're like, "Are you sending the animals home with me? I need to know because you're boxing up. You're trying to get out of there." I got my wife in my ear on my ear pod, trying to coordinate with her for things. Across from me is Shane with a guy at his booth that's helping out. Actually, lives like 2-3 miles from me. That was driving back. So I was trying to coordinate with him, and then at the same time, Alex is texting me like, "We're waiting out in the parking lot. Are you coming or not? Because we got to leave to the airport now." So I'm having these 4 conversations going on at once, and it all worked out though. It all worked out, and thank you for bringing that up because I was in such a daze of what do we do now, like you said, first time at the show. Khai's over here like, you better get your stuff together. Like, oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
a thing.
Yeah. I'm like, you'll figure out. I got a lot going on, but I'm super efficient about everything.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It just has to be. There's so much going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only part.
Oh,
There's so much
that was
going
one
on.
other thing I'll let everybody in on. So there was a point in the show where, because of what Kai's selling, you had to you need to change basically because you could sell a cup of grasshoppers or a few
Oh yeah,
grasshoppers for not that much.
yeah.
So it's still Kai's already selling stuff, but it's still early in the show on the first day. And he's like, "Hey, can you go find some change?" I'm running all over that show. Of course, Reptile guys that have the bigger ticket items, the $100 and up items, they don't have change. They're making sales on other platforms. I go to the guys in the middle with all the nuts. They're like, "Come back in an hour. We can't help you right now." And so I had just gotten lunch from one of the carts outside, that pastrami burger, which was delicious. And the lady's like, "Okay, I can help you out, but only I think she could give me 21s and the rest in 20s for that 100 you gave
Shit,
me."
that was worth it, man. It worked. It worked because that's all we really needed.
Yeah,
Yeah, I gotta change my prices, make them more odd and even numbers.
yeah.
Even numbers, yeah. Oh man.
I think Lynn was saying that behind your back at the show too.
Yeah.
uh, Everything's in derivative of 5s. But yeah, it was a good time, man. Hopefully there'll be some more in the future.
Yeah, I think I'm not gonna do too many shows that are back to back. I'll probably stretch them out a little bit because I don't really need to, you know, deal with that, right?
Right.
But yeah, man, we'll do another one where it plans out a little bit. Where I don't know. I guess everybody's got a lot of stuff. Good offspring, good timing.
Mhm.
Yeah, man, it's I think you could have probably brought some more, right?
Yeah, I just didn't
Yeah.
have. So I had to cut things short, even prepping for the show. There was more stuff I wanted to bring that I couldn't, just due to timing. Literally, I boxed up one box to send to Khai, and that was all the time I had just to make it to FedEx. I couldn't spend more time to even box that up. I couldn't get to it earlier, and I didn't want animals sitting in a box for a day or an extra day. So yeah, some better planning. But of course, the next show, if I do one, will be Sacramento for me. So that's near where I live, so that shouldn't be too bad. That's all drive time. So if you need to ship stuff up to me, I guess it's my turn to take care of you. You know, if you got anything.
The only thing is, I just can't leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't leave. I'd be like John over the phone, talking to everybody, telling them which one to feed which one.
There's plenty of those conversations going on. That was fun to see it all work. But other than that, yeah, John and Alex, great guys. It was fun hanging out. John, thank you for all the kindness and everything. You know, he kept paying for stuff, and then I tried to pay for something. He's like, "What are you doing? You know, like, stop doing that. You keep offering." I'm like, "Yeah, you keep paying for stuff, so I need to do my part just to feel okay sitting here eating dinner." And but really nice. So it's good to meet him in person as well. Alex is near me, so we've been able to interact quite a bit up till then. But it was good to make everything work, and it was also, you were there, Khai, coordinating. The more people to help or just keep an eye on something was, you know, really good. So it seemed like it worked out great. But all right, man, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah.
All right, for the next show, let's. I think we both in agreement. We want to get a guest on here, so you guys don't just have to listen to us talk about our problems all day long. But so hopefully we'll get a guest on here and another episode out to you pretty soon. We are brought to you by the Morelia Python Radio Network. So go to MoreliaPythonRadio.com. If you have any questions, you can email info@MoreliaPythonRadio.com. For anything you might have, there's a number of podcasts if you go onto the website, and that list is growing. It was around 9 or 10. There's a few more on there to include things like short tail pythons and a few other ones that are coming up. But Khai, where can people find you?
They can find me mostly on Facebook under Khai Fan. You can find me on Instagram at big_lizard103. You can also find me on YouTube at Mangrove Mecca. That's Mangrove and MECCA. And yeah, I'm most responsive on Facebook. I'll get around to everything else, but I'm most responsive on Facebook. So feel free to send me a message, and yeah, love to meet and talk to you guys.
For me, you can find me on Instagram at origins _reptile, and then on Facebook at origins reptile. I'm pretty even on either one, so I can respond to you on either one. Hit me up however you want. I'm love to hear the questions that get thrown my way, meet new people, just talk animals in general. Sometimes it's not even animals. Sometimes it's talking the balance of life with animals or whatever's going on. But I'm a person too, so reach out. You know, love to meet some new people. New questions are always exciting, or if we can help out in any way. Other than that, also you can look for Morelia Python Radio on both Facebook and Instagram, as well as their YouTube channel. You can find all their shows, including ours, there and on most major podcast apps that are out there. So until next time, guys, thanks for listening.